Good morning, Warzone kids. It is a cold day on the trail here in Vermont, 4 degrees, but it's clear and it's sunny, but it's still cold. Put your toe warmers in your boots, wear your gloves, get your hat on. But we can get our miles in on the trail. The trail to the Western lands, a place of peace and wholeness where we learn and become what we are. I'm a child sex abuse survivor. As an adult, I live with borderline personality disorder. I'm a recovering addict and bulimic. And war zone kids is my term for those of us that had a childhood that was full of chronic harm and neglect. Sexual harm, physical harm, emotional harm, psychological harm, societal harm, whatever that harm was. And I think of our psyches as kind of a Jenga tower that starts out in life as a solid block, and then that harm and neglect takes those little blocks out, slides those blocks out and puts them on top, so that by the time we Warzone kids find ourselves in adulthood, the Jenga tower of our psyche, our soul, who we are, is a tall, swaying, unsteady thing, liable to fall down. That's kind of my perspective on life as a Warzone kid. And I've been talking about Tar Baby Junction and the idea of tar babies. Ideas and ways of thinking that are sticky to our minds, that we get hung up in, that are sticky to us and keep us from moving on down the path. I was thinking about another one of those, one that's real common amongst us Warzone kids. And I'll just use the shorthand, special suffering. If you're a Warzone kid, if you're a child sex abuse survivor like I am, or any other kind of Warzone kid that had experiences as a child where you're kind of alienated from yourself. Maybe you're an adult and you're a combat veteran and you had experiences in war that left you traumatized. I mean, what's that word mean? You had experiences in war that yanked on your psyche and grabbed it and kind of split you off from yourself and from the rest of the world. You might have, because this guy has, and I know many other Warzone kids, kind of have a tar baby of our special suffering. Like, yeah, I know it kind of works like this for me. Yeah, these other people can get better, but they don't know what I've been through. Sure, you can get better, you can have healing, you can do blobbity 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 blah, but that don't apply to me, because what happened to me is worse than what happened to other people, or other people can't understand what happened to me, right? Well, there's reasons why that is sticky in our minds, and there's a lot of truth to those ideas. Any tar baby that sticks to your mind for a long time and is real sticky to you, there's reasons for it. Don't judge yourself for your tar babies. It's about living our life now as Warzone kids, not about judging yourself and your tar babies. Whatever sticks to your, whatever gets stuck to you and whatever you get stuck to gets matted down in your fur as your Brer Rabbit or maybe Brer Pilgrim walking down the trail. Your tar babies will get stuck to you. And that idea of special suffering is really sticky. You know, in the world of child sex abuse survivors, there's all kind of varieties of this. People that grow up in really religious environments where people are sincere and devout, and their religious beliefs mean something to them. They live by them. It's not just some hogwash they spout. They live by them. Well, what if you're abused by a clergy in that tradition? Whatever that tradition is. A rabbi, an imam, a priest, a preacher, a Zen teacher, the abbot at the monastery, the brothers, the sisters? What if those people took advantage of you and caused you harm while they were teaching and preaching about how to live? And that does a number on you. How could it not? And so then you might emerge and live the rest of your life, or live big chunks of your life deep inside that tradition, that religious tradition or that philosophical tradition, but the whole time split off from yourself, knowing about the harm that was caused you. And you look around and you hear people talk about, happiness and tranquility and moving on and healing and all that, and you think, yeah, but they don't know what I know. They don't know what I've been through. And they don't. They don't. How could they? It's not your life, it's their life. It's not their life, it's your life. That's sticky. And that idea that no one else can understand your suffering is a bad tar baby. It is sticky, and it'll keep you mired right where you are for as long as you're stuck to it, really. You might be a combat veteran. I was raised by a combat vet. Daddy was a hot off the chopper door gunner in Vietnam. He did 3 tours over there. And I know very good and well what it's like to be around a person who lives their life more or less with the conviction that no one can understand what they've been through unless they're another combat vet. There's truth in that. Of course, I've not had those experiences. But I know what it's like to be trapped in special suffering. And if you tell yourself, no one can understand what it's like unless they've been a combat vet, then you're just telling yourself a story. That's a tar baby that's going to keep you mired where you are. And you might be very dedicated to that tar baby. You might say to yourself, well, these kids today, yeah, sure, this rifleman in the Marine Corps knows what it's like to have combat in Mosul in Iraq, but that ain't no Vietnam. They weren't no door gunner. They weren't no tank retriever. They don't know what that's like to do all that and come back and run into hippies and spend the rest of your life watching World War II vets get lauded, and then watching Vietnam vets get mocked and derided and have their service not respected and their sacrifice not respected. Yeah. I was raised up amongst numerous combat veterans from Vietnam, and I witnessed that particular type of special suffering, them holding on to that, and the hurt of that, the pain, the resentment of that. Well, I'm not a combat vet. I did 6 months in the Civil Air Patrol, Wiley Post Station on the west side of Oklahoma City. That's the extent of my military service. I don't know nothing about being a door gunner on a Huey. I don't know nothing about being a tank retriever sent out to get one of Uncle Sam's tanks back while VC were taking pot shots at me, and I'm sitting there trying to wrangle the tread of a tank back on the track. I don't know nothing about that firsthand. I know a lot about it secondhand. And I know a lot about what it's like to tell yourself that can't no one understand your suffering but you. And I know how sticky that is and how much that can keep you down. You may be a child sex abuse survivor from the close family member abuse subtype of that. Someone in your immediate family caused you harm chronically over the years. No one can know what that's like. You're right, you have your experience. But that idea that because no one else knows what it was like, you can't get out of it, that's a tar baby. Maybe you're a father-daughter incest survivor. No one can know what that's like. No one can know what it's like to have your sexuality and your notion of human relationships deformed and twisted and damaged in that way. Only you. Well, you're right. Maybe you're a mother-son incest survivor. and you think no one can know what that's like, wanting to vomit every time Mother's Day comes around, wanting to hear all this stuff that people say about mom, apple pie. I don't like either one of them. Those concepts. They give me troubled feelings. No one can know what it's like. Between me and my special suffering, I'm stuck. They can't understand it. There's truth to that. Don't judge yourself for it. Recognize that no one else needs to be able to understand your exact suffering in order for you to move on and live your life now in the present. That tar baby of the mind holds you back. I'm a volunteer circle keeper with Hidden Water Circle. That's an organization that facilitates healing circles by and for those affected by child sex abuse. And the practice there is we share our experience. We have a phrase, share to be understood and listen to understand. And I've heard numerous other people's stories. I do not share any of their exact experiences. None of my fellow child sex abuse survivors have shared my exact experiences. I can relate as a human being. I can relate to their pain and their suffering. When I listen to understand them sharing their human experience, I can hear myself in that. And when I share my experience of being a human being, they can hear themselves in me when they're listening to understand. They don't need to have felt the specific pain and suffering that I felt in order to share our experience as human creatures. And what I've seen in that experience of sharing to understand and listening, sharing to be understood and listening to understand, I've seen that my suffering is mine. My suffering is special in that way. But there's nothing about anything that's happened to me in my life that means that in the present moment I'm doomed and I cannot find my way to the Western lands and I cannot live my life today. There's nothing about anything that's happened to me that stops me from living my life today in the present moment and getting my licks in on the trail to the Western lands. I can make it 1 league per hour on the path, because a league is the distance that you can travel in an hour, however far that distance is. That might be 6 miles. That might be 100 yards. That might be 6 feet. That might be 1 step. Whatever it is, I can make it. But I'm not going to have a very easy time making it if I'm telling myself the whole way that my suffering is so great that no one else can understand it. See how that works, Pilgrim? That's just a tar baby that keeps me stuck. And whenever I notice that I'm getting stuck in one of my tar babies, noticing the fact that I'm stuck is usually what gets me unstuck from it. It's weird like that. Whenever I know that I'm stuck in a tar baby, that means I'm just about unstuck from it. See if it don't work the same for you, and ask yourself, if you're holding yourself back, ask yourself if you're busy, locked in the octagon of the tar baby, stuck to you like glue. You've put yourself in a mounted crucifix. Think of that image. Jesus Christ up on the cross, whatever that image means to you. There's a position in grappling called a crucifix, where you're kind of on your back on the ground and the other fella's just holding you down in that position. There's a fight last year between Hamzat Chimaev and Dricus du Plessis, both of them fighters I like a great deal. And Hamzat was Dricus du Plessis' tar baby, because Hamzat Chimaev put Dricus du Plessis in a crucifix down on his back, arms stretched out, and he held him there. And it's just a matter of Drickus not knowing how to get out of it, really. I think, watching the fight, Drickus just couldn't figure out how to get out of it. And he was stuck there. He got in that position within a minute or two of each round. And 5 rounds in a row, Hamzat flung him down, crucifixed him, and stuck to him like a tar baby and held him down. And Drickus just didn't know how to get out. He didn't know. And if you don't know how to get out of that position, you ain't going to get out of that position. And if you're stuck in your tar baby, if your tar baby's got you crucifixed, and you don't know how to get out of it, that's exactly where you'll be. And believe me, I am personally familiar with a number of combat veterans from the Vietnam War, and I just use that to relate because these folks are a generation older than I am. Many of them are deep into their sunset years, and I witnessed what it's like for the human psyche to put itself in a position where it's crucifixed by its own suffering, held down in the crucifix of that tar baby of special suffering. No one can understand. No one was there. They can't understand, and therefore, because no one can understand and relate, I have to be stuck in this forever. See how that works? That's the crucifix of the tar baby. And you'll be up there on the cross till the day you die, and long after. Not getting out, stuck in that special suffering. Telling yourself a story that you don't even know you're telling yourself. Keeping yourself there. Because as long as you don't know that you're stuck in a tar baby, as long as you just think that's the reality, as long as you think that tar baby in the mind is reality, and it's just a true fact of the cosmos that you're stuck and you can't get out. Like it was a true fact of the cosmos that Drickus du Plessis was stuck on his back with Hamzat Chimaev on top of him in a crucifix, holding him down. He didn't know how to get out, and so he couldn't get out. If someone could have told him how to get out, he could have got out. It wasn't the fact that he was just stuck there by the cosmos. He was stuck there because he didn't know how to get out. And if you're stuck in a tar baby, here's how you get out. You recognize that you're stuck in a tar baby. That's just a tar baby. It's just a way of thinking. And that's how you can get out. That's a slippery idea, Pilgrim, that the act of knowing that you're stuck in a tar baby is what gets you out of that tar baby. That is slippery. I get it. I get it. But slippery ideas like that are 100 trillion times better than sticky ideas like that tar baby. That tar baby of what you just know is true. You're a parent incest survivor, and no one can know that suffering. No one can know the racket and the pain and suffering in your mind and the damage that's done to you in terms of your human relations with those around you the rest of your life. No one can understand, and that's just the way it is, and you're just busted and broken and stuck. As long as you think that's the reality of the cosmos, it will be. And when you see that those ideas are just ideas, and you can live your life today in the present moment, and those ideas of your special suffering that holds you back and stops you from moving forward, when you can see that those ideas are tar babies, they become slippery, and you slip out of that tar. When you slip out of that tar, you can make it a lot farther, a lot faster, and a lot easier down the trail of the Western lands, a place of peace and wholeness, where you learn and become what you are today in your real life. The stickiness of tar babies is no match for the slipperiness of living the here and now in your real life, in the present moment. Just you and me, Pilgrim, and rosy-fingered dawn keeping us company on today's miles on the trail to the Western lands. It's a beautiful day, Pilgrim. Daylight's burning. Let's get a move on.